Hey everyone, welcome to the Roto Grinders Morning Grind podcast. I'm your host, Stevie TPFL. It's September, it's the 22nd, it's 2016, it's Thursday. So it's the day that we shift gears from baseball. We talk some football here. We're going to be talking game by game, breaking down this weekend's slate. Going to kind of skip over the Thursday game. I know that my co-host wants to talk about one player on the Thursday slate that we'll talk about here in a second. But are you tilted as bad as I am, Siege?
A couple beers later, kind of enjoying life a little bit more, trying to get out of we ran super bad. It's all right. I feel like Steph Curry just hit a couple threes in our face. We don't know what happened. Kind of stunned. But you know what? There's variance involved. I feel really good about our lineup today. I really felt like we had the better lineup today. It just didn't work out.
I think that, I don't even want to get into it too much. It's just one of those things. Like, we paid up for the big bats in Baltimore and Boston, and the game just kind of disappointed. It was a high total. The smart money was betting the over. It was just disappointed.
Yeah, our Josh Bell versus the Tenda decision came back to bite us too. It was like every 1v1 we contemplated, it just didn't go our way. Not that it should have mattered, but oh well.
All right, but we're going to talk some football, and before we talk about football, we're going to talk about our sponsored site, FantasyDraft.com. If you guys haven't checked out Fantasy Draft, make sure you head on over there. Use promo code GRINDERS. That way you guys get incentives here at Roto Grinders for free for a year for Fantasy Draft, and you get a 100% deposit bonus up to $600. $100,000 run and gun. We're going to talk about this throughout the podcast because it's the only site, I think maybe Fantasy Aces, but one of the only sites that on their main slate, they left the Monday night game. So if you want exposure to Atlanta, New Orleans, make sure you guys head on over there and check that out. We're going to go game by game. We're going to talk a lot of football here. I know you wanted to talk about one thing on the Thursday night slate before we get into talking about the Sunday. Floor's yours, my friend.
Yeah, I actually think that there's been a lot of talk about fading this game just like you do every Thursday, and I understand it, but I think it's a big mistake. I think Houston's going to score a lot of points in this game. I actually think New England's going to score some points as well. If you're playing Thursday, planning on fading this, you could end up with another Jets-Buffalo on your hands. I think Will Fuller is a lock and load on DraftKings at 4 point whatever he's at, 4 point something. This is an 8K receiver, and he's not priced as such. And this is the last week I feel like I'm going to get the opportunity to exploit that. So it's going to be 100% Will Fuller for me. I was talking about 80%, but after just realizing that nobody's on him, I'm just going to go 100% here on Thursday contest. I don't care if he's 20% owned. That's not high enough. I don't care if he's over-owned on Thursday. 100%. Let's get it done.
I don't like playing Thursday players, so I really think I'm just going to
I don't either, but this is absolutely the exception to the rule. For every rule, there's an exception, and this is it.
No, I agree. So what I think I'm going to do is I think I'm going to load up maybe like 20 teams in the $5 on DraftKings, play him on like 10 or 15 of my teams, and then just leave it open and get as much as I can from Monday night.
Yep, I totally on board with that. That's definitely my approach. I mean, Will Fuller's had over 100 yards in both games. Patriots secondary has been actually worse than people think. Like the general perception is like, oh, the Patriots are 2-0, defense is playing good. They've actually gotten torched through the air. This is just a dream spot.
Another thing that I want to mention, like, what's your thoughts on Brissett? Minimum salary quarterbacks is something that I like to do. Like, if you're playing cash on Thursday, could you play him here?
I don't think I can play him.
You can't do it on DraftKings because Marcus Mariota is only $900 more. But I think he's an option on FanDuel.
I think if you're playing that Monday-Thursday slate, and let's say you faded Ryan Matthews, I think Jacoby Brissett is an interesting option and lets you get to Fuller. It lets you get to Hopkins. It might even let you to Gronk if he goes. I haven't seen an update. There's reports he wasn't coming to week 4, and then I heard whispers earlier in the week, and I haven't heard anything since. And with the Patriots, silence normally means something's up.
All right, let's get into the Sunday slate, breaking down each game here. We're going to start with Washington at New York, taking on the Giants. You nailed this Giants game last week. You said that, it was just going to be a game that was going to underperform. Do you feel the same way this week, or do you think this is a game that's going to kind of shoot out?
I think this game is kind of in the interesting zone for me. This is kind of one of those games I kind of want to see where the general public, I think, is coming in. 46 total is solid, 4.5 point favorite, kind of like where it was last week. I think I like Sterling Shepard a ton here. I think I like Odell Beckham a lot here. If people are going to go back to the well, I think there's a bunch of other games in similar spots I could attack. But if this game's going to go underowned, I'm definitely going to want to be overweight on Beckham and Shepard. Odell Beckham last year in the shadowing of Josh Norman. But he's not going to follow him into the slot, but he's still going to shadow him. I think people need to learn what the definition of a shadow is. But Odell Beckham in this matchup last year just torched him. So I don't think that I'm worried about Norman one bit here.
I'm not worried about Norman. I'm more worried about them getting personal fouls and both getting ejected. Like, we've seen them go at each other so much last year. Like, it's not something that I'm going to factor into my decision on whether I'm taking him or not, but it's something that's in the back of my mind. I know it probably shouldn't be, but it's there, right? Like, they have this new thing in the NFL with that 2-penalty, unsportsmanlike ejection now. So it's tough. Rashard Jennings, limited at practice Wednesday. I would kind of think that he's going to play here, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I don't really have a ton of interest in him, though, if he's going to be limited. Shane Vereen's already a third down back. If they start trying to give Shane Vereen a couple carries, limit Jennings' workload, can't really go there for me.
You mentioned Shepard. Really good matchup with Shepard here against Fuller, the rookie, like in the slot. If Shepard, he's been running a lot of his plays in the slot. So I think Shepard's a really interesting option on fantasy draft where full point PPR. Looking at the Washington side of things, Kirk Cousins getting a ton of just negative comments this week. What's your thoughts on this offense?
I think it's Jordan Reed. I think that's the only thing I'm really interested in playing here. I don't think the comments on Kirk Cousins are kind of like warranted yet, but I also think the Giants defense might be better than we think it is. The Dallas offense looked pretty good against Washington after the Giants kind of shut them down in week 1, and we kind of saw the Saints offense got shut down by the Giants D. There's a world in which the Giants D is just better than we think it is at this point. So I think I'm going to kind of limit my exposure to Washington and kind of say maybe the Giants defense is good, and there's some other defenses on the slate I really feel more comfortable attacking.
So, when I was looking at this game, Jamison Crowder continues to stand out to me on FanDuel. He's 5,000. He has 18 targets in the first 2 games. He has 4 red zone targets already.
And he made I don't know if you saw the catch he made where he caught it, ran to the back, and hit the wall, and just got right back up and started celebrating. Like, I thought for sure concussion protocol was happening. But he's a tough kid. Don't mind him, but it's going to be really tough. Doxson's also getting a lot of red zone targets. He hasn't caught any yet. So they have a lot of options in the red zone. So I wouldn't get too crazy on Crowder, but at 5K, I definitely think that he's worthy of a play.
Yeah, super cheap and on the field a lot for the passing downs. Who cares if he's on the field for the running downs? It doesn't bother me too much, but he's seeing a lot of the passing downs, which is what I want to see. I think he played 38 of 51 passing snaps last week, so that's kind of what I want to see. Any other thoughts on this game before we move on?
No, I think that's about wraps it up. No interest in either defense here.
No. Minnesota at Carolina. Cam Newton's good at football.
He's very good at football. Who's also very good at football? Kelvin Benjamin, my number 1 ranked wide receiver last week. It was very widely panned and worked out just fine.
Spot here where Jonathan Stewart's doubtful. You're going to play, running back roulette, trying to pick which one's going to do the damage. Whitaker probably going to get the goal line work, but Cam Newton's a goal line back too. So, the only thing I'm looking at here is Olsen, Benjamin, Newton.
Yep, completely agree. I love the Carolina defense too as a sneaky defense.
Fade the Minnesota running back situation. Don't fall into this trap.
Yeah, don't play anybody from Minnesota. This is a huge letdown spot where they had an emotional win opening their stadium. They go on the road to Carolina. I could see a huge dud here. Sam Bradford falling back to earth. I really like the Carolina D as a sneaky defense this week. Nobody's going to be on them because they gave up a lot of points to the 49ers, but that 49ers offense isn't as bad as people think it was, and this is a huge letdown spot for Minnesota on a kind of mini short week. So I love the Carolina defense here as a contrarian option.
The only guy that I'm looking at from Minnesota is Diggs on PPR sites. He's going to be so popular, so that worries me a little bit. But he has a really good matchup against Bradbury here. Even Pro Football Focus is kind of thinking that's who's going to be on him most of the game, and Bradbury's the guy that you want to be on him in this game.
I think I'm going to fade the ownership. There's a couple of PPR guys that we're going to get to later that I think I have a little more interest at maybe 20 times less ownership.
Yeah. Do you think he's going to be that popular?
I think he's going to get to 10%, don't you? 10, 15?
Yeah, but at 10%, if he gets double-digit targets, they're trailing in the game.
I mean, I see the case for him, but I think it depends on the buy-in level. I think he'll be higher owned in the higher stuff because they kind of see Carolina's defense has gotten exposed by wide receivers here. But I don't know that if it's going to be like Joe Schmo on the street is going to play Stephon Diggs. I don't know. I'm torn on Stephon Diggs. I think I'm leaning towards the fade, but if I start getting information he won't be on, that I could reconsider.
All right, let's move on. Cleveland at Miami. A couple injuries to talk about here. Arian Foster downgraded to doubtful. They say he's a long shot to play. There's a good chance he's not going to play in this game. Corey Coleman, doubtful now. Fractured his hand in practice on Wednesday. I think that's something that we really need to talk about. We're not hearing a lot of love for Terrell Pryor. We talked pre-show, and me and you both have Pryor getting double-digit targets in this game.
Yeah, I actually loved him before the Coleman news. I actually was very upset when I saw the Coleman news. If you followed me on Twitter at the Siege DFS, I said I had to redo my write-up. I had a pretty long write-up on Pryor as like a contrarian option with Coleman. You know, Miami's not very good in the secondary. They can get burned. And I had almost deleted it, and I started getting like gifts back like, are you serious? And I was really shocked. I thought this was going to be a super popular play. He's 3.5 on DraftKings. He's like 6,800 on draft, I believe. Double-digit targets on a secondary that's not very good. What am I missing here? Like, Terrell Pryor's targets went up, and now he's getting Cody Kessler, a guy that he worked with all summer on, like, those rookie mini camps and whatnot. Like, their connection is going to be the best. Like, what am I missing here? I feel like that this is kind of like a 5-catch, 65-yard floor almost.
Yeah, we talked about it before the show. I'm in agreement here. Like, I think that Pryor is going to be a guy that I don't even think people are going to shift now that Coleman's going to be out. I don't think people are going to shift. I think Miami's the chalk defense, and if you're playing cash games, you probably do want to play Miami's defense at home. Double-digit favorites in this game, so yes. But like when you actually look into it, Howard, Maxwell, and Robbie, all awful. This secondary is just awful. I'm a Dolphins fan. They're awful. Like, the thing is, though, the Dolphins are going to get up in this game, and I don't even think – I'm hearing a lot of talk about Landry and Tannehill. I'm not doing that this week. The Dolphins' defense and Pryor is where I'm looking at in this game.
What about Jay Ajayi, who's supposed to get the start?
I'm not doing it. Like, I'm so worried because – they just don't like him in Miami. They really don't. I know it's a new coach, and I know it's a new system. He was a healthy scratch in week 1. Like, if I'm playing any running back,
I'm still convinced that was an internal team suspension, by the way. No one could talk me off of that.
I could see that.
I'm convinced that was a private, like, teams. Because now they're like, didn't they give him work last week, too? And now they were like, he's the likely starter this week. That seems like – it almost feels like he did something stupid in practice and got a kind of we're going to pay you, but you're getting left home suspension. I don't know. That whole situation was funky if they're really going to start him this week, and I think they will. If you tell me I'm going to have a starting running back with a team that's favored by 9.5 points at a discounted price, unowned, and Damian Williams is the guy behind him still, right? Like, I'm not too worried about
Drake.
That. Oh, it's Drake, even worse. Like, he's going to get 15 to 20 touches at a discounted price. I think I have to be interested, even if this kind of reminds me of TJ Yeldon. Like, I hate TJ Yeldon, but if TJ Yeldon's going to get 15 to 20 carries, like, we have to consider him.
Yeah, and you got to think the game flow is really good for a running back here. Like, if we get news before Sunday and they come out and say, like, he's going to be the starter and he's going to have the workload, I'll probably shift gears because it is a good spot as far as, you know, when we're looking at game flow, game script in this game.
Yeah, and we actually get a good question about Jay Ajayi just now on Twitter. We'll come back to that when we get to question and answers. I think that this is a guy we'll get back to and talk more about later.
Baltimore at Jacksonville. I really like this game.
I'm so glad you said that, Stevie.
I know you kind of hinted before the show that there was a game that you wanted to talk about a lot, but, like, there's going to be points in this game, right?
I don't see a game flow in which this doesn't turn into a shootout. And I kind of want to just walk through this here for a minute. So let's say Baltimore gets in front, right? We all know Blake Bortles is very good at playing from behind. 3 first-quarter touchdown passes in his career, 1 road win, but he's at home, thankfully. But there's obviously we know Bortles can throw in junk time. If Jacksonville gets in front, we know Joe Flacco loves to throw the deep ball, and they can't run the ball either. Like, how does this game not turn into just them throwing the ball 50 times? Like, where's the scenario in which Justin Forsett and TJ Yeldon just start running the ball and run out the clock? Like, I don't see it at all. I can't see a scenario in which this happens.
Yeah, unless they get up by like 30 or 3 touchdowns. If they get up by 3 touchdowns, you probably already have your points by then anyway.
Yeah, I love this spot. I think the total's too low. I think we're going to see this total rise before first kick, especially if the weather in Jacksonville is good. The Baltimore defense has faced the Browns and the Bills, not exactly the world's most elite passing attacks. I think people forgot how bad they were last year, and this is a really good spot to exploit it.
All right, well, we'll start with Jacksonville here at home. Julius Thomas, a guy that I really like. He's probably going to be a guy you look at in cash games, right?
Yeah, I in cash games. Huh.
No?
Sure, he's in consideration. I think there's one guy I like a little bit more. But I'm all for Julius Thomas. I love Julius Thomas, probably one of my favorite tight ends for tournaments. God, I hadn't even considered him in cash. I got to be honest. I kind of just locked one guy in we'll get to, and I hadn't thought about it. But I certainly have no problems with Julius Thomas, especially if Chris Ivory is out. He'll get that red zone usage bump.
Yeah, there's another guy that we're probably going to be talking about. Does he play for Tennessee?
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was looking too. I think, honestly, what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to split my tight ends in cash this week. I'm probably going to have Thomas on DraftKings or Walker on DraftKings and then the other one on FanDuel because I can't really decide which one I want.
I think I would do it Walker on DK, Thomas on FanDuel, by the way. I think if you were going to choose, I think Thomas is more likely to get 2 touchdowns, and I think Walker's more likely to get like 6 or 7 catches.
Full PPR site like DraftKings and Fantasy Draft. What's your thoughts on Allen Robinson, who's a little banged up right now?
I don't care. I love Robinson. I love Hearns. I love this entire passing attack, and I'm going to have lots of exposure to it.
Does it concern you at all that Robinson only had 5 targets last week, or
no?
You just
Jason Verrett. Jason Verrett. We're not too. I'm not going to worry. That game just got out of hand crazy. Like even after the Danny Woodhead injury, the Chargers still just kept mashing him down the field through the passing game. Phillip Rivers threw like 4 touchdowns to random guys. Like I know that Joe Flacco like isn't the world's best quarterback, but he can certainly throw for 2 or 3 here as well. I just love everything about this game.
Don't play the running backs from this game. Going to the Baltimore side of things here, I like Mike Wallace. I think that this might be real. Like what we're seeing is Mike Wallace is Flacco's number 1 target.
I love Mike Wallace. I love Steve Smith. I don't even mind a Brashad Perriman play if you look on FanDuel. If you're chasing a home run ball, he could get like 2 catches for 80 yards and a touchdown, which on FanDuel at his price you deal with.
Wallace. I keep coming back to Wallace.
I love Wallace this week. It's going to be a great spot. I mean, he's working out of the slot. Good matchup against Ramsey. In a game where I just think the pass attempts are going to be so plentiful and the pace is just going to be so good, it honestly is almost as good. I think I like this game more than San Diego, Indianapolis.
That's a bold call.
It shouldn't be, though. This is one of those spots I really hope that I see a total move to 49 on Sunday morning to just make me feel much better about all this.
The weather is always what I'm worried about with a Florida outdoor game. I live in Florida. Good
weather. Total rises. I'll feel much better about this come Sunday morning.
It's just Dennis Pita's world, and we're living in it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess. I mean, he's certainly in play, and he's certainly underpriced. And if you catch the ball in this game, I have interest in you.
All right, let's move on to one of my favorite games of the weekend. Oakland at Tennessee. Love this game. I'm going back to the well. I'll probably play Marcus Mariota and cash on DraftKings again this week.
I'm curious what your take is on this game because I have kind of a hot take, but I don't know if it should be a hot take. So why don't you just give me your take on it, and then I'm going to kind of like respond.
I think Oakland gets up by 2 touchdowns in this game, and Tennessee throws the ball a shitload in the second half.
Can they actually score on the Oakland defense outside of Delaney Walker?
But the corners have been so awful. Like Sharp has.
Are we sure they're this bad? Are we sure?
Look, I know what you're going to say.
2-week sample size. Are we overreacting here just a little bit on the Oakland defense?
They haven't.
A little bit.
It's not like they have played bad teams either.
Yeah, Saints and Falcons. Like, it's not exactly like Tennessee went into Detroit and just really put on a showcase for offense. Like, I'm a little concerned that we're just overreacting here just a little bit. I'm with you on the Oakland side. I actually think Derek Carr and those guys and Crabtree and Cooper are good plays. Oh, wait, am I just a little bit worried about the Tennessee side? I'm just a little concerned. This feels like almost a trap outside of Delanie Walker. I don't think this Oakland defense is this bad, and this is kind of like one of those must-win games for them. I know it's a 1 o'clock on the East Coast, but if they wouldn't lose this game, they're really in trouble here.
Yeah, it's hard to overlook Sharp for me. I think that he has a really solid floor in this game. He's a guy that I'm going to look at in cash games.
Oh, I get it, but boy, is he scary. The Tennessee offense just really worries me here. It's not like they've been firing on all cylinders, and I think people are just going to kind of go to the well here automatically, and I don't know if we should be. There's a bunch of other games in this total range, and if this game's going to be more popular than the others, like, why am I taking the chalky team that I have questions about? But it's not like I hate Tennessee. I kind of think this is the overreaction game of the week.
So, but looking at Sharp in this game, so we're projecting Tennessee to get down. Sharp, 97% of the snaps he's been on the field, he's going to get double-digit targets, and he's just so cheap everywhere.
No, I don't really have a problem with Sharp and Mariota and Walker. I think my case with Mariota is kind of the same case I had last week. I feel like I can capture enough of the Tennessee offense to lose two. I don't really need Mariota here.
You mentioned Cooper, and you mentioned Crabtree, and you mentioned Carr. That's where I'm at. I'm not going to play the running backs here.
I think Carr is super sneaky, by the way. If we're wrong on the game flow and Tennessee gets out in front, it's a pretty solid spot to have Carr kind of trying to chase points. So I really don't mind David Carr here. I actually think he's a top 10 quarterback option this week. I think he's going a bit overlooked here.
A lot of talk about DeMarco Murray. I think he's solid. I don't think he has a ton of upside, but I think he's solid in this game. He looks good.
He does look really good. I have no issues with that. I feel perfectly content to kind of fade DeMarco Murray. He's probably a top 10 option, but there's just a couple guys I just really like a ton.
Yeah, 7 targets in each of the first 2 games for DeMarco Murray. If they get behind in this game, could be a good game flow for him. Let's move on. Detroit at Green Bay. Detroit at Green Bay. What's your thoughts?
One of Detroit's 4 outside games this year. So we've seen Detroit twice in the Dome. Once they looked pretty good on offense, the other time they kind of looked meh. And I don't know really what happened in that Tennessee game. It kind of just felt like they couldn't convert a third down, which is just so odd with those weapons. I'm kind of willing to kind of write the game off a little bit and kind of go back to the guys that I want to trust. If Amir Abdullah is questionable for this game, I saw, right? He's out. IR. Oh, they IR'd him today. Wow, I missed that. So we have our boy Theo, and did I mention Theo? And did I mention Theo Riddick? If they're going to be behind, yes, please.
Yeah, you just have to think he had a monster game in week 1 with 33% of the snaps. He played 66% of the snaps last week. If you're going to tell me he's going to get 50-plus snaps and this offense is going to trail, I like Reddit a lot.
Yeah, I do too. This is a week, as before the season started, we talked about it. We're like, we'll play in week 1 and 2. We'll fade week 3. We'll catch him back in week 4. Situation's changed. I don't think we can fade him here. The ownership level's still going to be low. I'm perfectly fine with Theo Riddick in all formats.
Yeah, and if Ebron's dealing with a back, didn't practice Wednesday, if he's out, Riddick's going to get our red zone looks too.
I don't think we'll get that lucky. There's no chance we're going to get that lucky and we're going to get Ebron out too. That would just be amazing.
Marvin Jones, Golden Tate, any preference?
Marvin Jones, I think, is really the number one here. I just haven't seen enough from Tate where I can feel comfortable rostering him in any sort of heavy volume. I've went heavy week 1, heavy week 2. I'm going to have to scale it back until I can see a little something.
Yeah, and Jones should get a lot of Sam Shields. Shields has struggled so far this season too.
Yeah, I definitely like the spot here. Anquan Bolden would be interesting if Ebron's out too. We saw him come a little bit into the offense. I'm not sure what his price is on Fantasy Draft. Let me just load that up really quickly here. He is 8,400. Don't mind that on a PPR site if Ebron's out.
Yeah, Jones also has like 3 inches on every single starting corner for Green Bay too.
Yeah, we haven't seen them use him enough in the red zone, but I think if Ebron's out, they certainly will go that route in this game.
What's your thoughts on the Green Bay offense here?
Man, Aaron Rodgers has so many weapons. I do love him this week. I think he's a really good option to pay up for. I think most people are going to pay up for Cam or Luck. I think that you can go Rodgers and make yourself contrarian. Randall Cobb, I think, is the receiver I want, though, even though it makes me kind of sick just to think about.
Yeah, don't steal my thunder here. Cobb, one of my top options this week. He's going to be a guy I'm going to be really heavy on. Like, this is a great get right spot for Rodgers after a really tough Minnesota defense. Detroit defense, nothing near what Minnesota is, and it's just setting up for a great Cobb game. Like, Jordy Nelson, Slay is a really good corner, and this is just going to be a Cobb game. He's going to destroy Diggs in the slot, and it's not like he's not getting the targets. And if Nelson's going to be covered, like I think that Rodgers is going to look at Cobb a lot here.
Okay, I can't believe I'm saying this. So your job here is to tell me no. Okay, Devontae Adams, 7 targets week 1, 7 targets week 2. Please just tell me no.
He is not a terrible option here.
I was afraid you were going to say that.
Like, it depends on if Slay is going to shadow Nelson or not.
I think you have to, don't they?
Like, if we get that news, if we get that news and, if that's something that we hear about, then I'm going to load up on Cobb, Adams, and I actually would probably have some Jared Cook too. That's where you're supposed to tell me no.
Yeah, I can tell you no there. I'm good there.
Do you realize how bad the linebackers are for Detroit, though? Like,
I know how bad Jared Cook is, too.
I know.
Don't do it. If you're looking for some value options, we'll talk about some value tight ends. Don't you worry.
He had 6 targets last week. Just saying, Jared Cook, 6 targets.
No. You told me to tell you no. The answer is no.
Arizona at Buffalo. Interesting game here. What's your thoughts overall on this game?
I have no thoughts. I think this is a great fade. I think this game is going to be very boring. I think 17-14, 20-17 type game. I think both teams are going to try to throw the football here. I think they're going to have varying degrees of success. This is a West Coast team flying east. Buffalo has had a long week to prepare. I just think this game is just going to kind of get ugly. I don't really have a ton of interest in anything.
I have a little interest in David Johnson because I think the contrarian thing to do this week, I think, is to pay up at running back. So much value. I think people are going to go value-wise. So I really like the idea of paying up at running back. And we just seen Matt Forte destroy the Buffalo run defense.
Yeah, I'm with you on paying up for running back. I think you're going to be stunned at who I'm going to recommend that you should pay up for this week.
Buffalo side of things, just nothing really. Like, Sammy Watkins is banged up, so nothing that really stands out to me here.
Naked Tyrod Taylor, I actually think is a solid play here.
Yeah, could get some running yards, could get some running upside here. I could tend to get behind Taylor by himself here, and dare I even say Robert Woods' name, or do we just move on?
I think you should go ahead and delete this part after the podcast, and we'll just pretend I said let's move on.
Denver at Cincinnati. AJ Green coming off a really disappointing game. We've seen him just torch Revis in game 1. Is this a spot we could go back to the well, or are we fading him here?
I don't know. I haven't made my mind up. This is kind of one of the tough decisions here. He's actually questionable, with the birth of their son imminent. We do have to make sure that he's going to play Sunday. It looks like that it should happen before the game. It's a home game, but we do have to keep an eye on that. I don't know if I can pull it off against Denver. I want to, but I think there's just too many good wide receiver options on this slate, and some that are going to be underowned for me to really go back to Green. I should go back to Green. He's an elite wide receiver, can perform in any matchup, but 8,100 is a really tough price to pay on DraftKings.
If Green's out, and they've said that if he needs to miss a game, he will. He told the team that a month ago. If he's out, could we really look at Tyler Boyd?
Nah, I would just rather play. I don't know what the offense would look like in that scenario, but I think I would just much rather take Pryor in that spot than Boyd at the same price.
Yeah, I guess we can just play the Denver defense in that spot, right? If Green's out, Denver defense becomes a play.
Yeah, Gio Bernard I think is an interesting option here too. Pass catching backs against Denver has been a thing for a while. I don't think he's going to get 11 targets like he got last week, but I certainly think 5 or 6 is reasonable, and he could do some damage at 4,300.
And we're just never playing Jeremy Hill, right?
Never. Not until Gio Bernard twists an ankle.
Looking at the Denver side of things, obviously C.J. Anderson in play here.
Yep. I don't know if I can pay that price for him. I question what his real ceiling is. I really don't know if you can rush for 2 rushing touchdowns, which is what I really would need at this price point. So for me, I probably am passing, but he's certainly a fine option.
Yeah, I can see that. Like, man, DeAngelo Williams just torched this defense. Like, I'm pulling up what their defensive line looks like as far as graded out.
It's not good.
It's really not. I might have a little Anderson. I think Anderson's a really good, solid cash game play. Agree
with that. I definitely think that's the format I would be more likely to approach him. He's been actually like really limited to 20 carries on the dot in 2 weeks. I don't know, even if they get in front, they're going to give him a lot more than that.
Am I crazy for thinking Thomas is a play here? Like, Cincinnati can get burnt by the long ball.
The problem is Trevor Siemian has to throw the long ball first.
Yeah, just that's the issue. Like, they're not going to do anything here.
Not unless they're behind.
What's the odds of that happening? 10%, 15%?
I think it's closer to 25.
All right. LA at Tampa. Tampa, Wilson, awful last week. Winston, my bad. Doug Martin already ruled out for this game. I really think this is setting up for a really good Mike Evans game.
I've heard that from multiple people I respect. I get it. I think I'll have exposure in tournaments, but I don't think it's certainly like a core play by any means. It's a really low total game. This game could just get ugly. Rams defense could just pound the box a little bit here. Not pound the box, play back a little bit, make Winston kind of pick them apart since they won't have much of a running game. Rams front 4 really strong. Charles Sims, not a very good running back. I can see a lot of just eight guys back, 7 guys back. Could make it tough on Evans, but I understand the upside's worthy of it.
Yeah, just, the upside's there. Either side of the field, Sensabaugh and Johnson, both these guys really bad. Like, whoever he matches up here, unless they double him, he's going to have the advantage.
I agree with that. I just think there's going to be a lot of 7-back coverage and kind of make Winston pick them apart. Because Simmons, they're just going to have no running game with Charles Sims against this Rams front 4. There's just no chance. So the question is just, can Winston stay up straight? Can he stay up straight long enough to get the ball to Evans? I think there's a high enough chance to play Evans in tournaments, but I'm not going to make him a core play by any means.
I think you could pair them to get both of them under 10%. There's upside there. There's 2 touchdown upside, and there's always a rushing upside touchdown with Winston.
The Rams defense is too strong for me to make that kind of play. I'm not going to play Winston. It would just be straight Evans for me.
Can we look at Todd Gurley here?
Nope.
It's such a good
One
matchup.
One more week. Hold off one more week.
It's such a good matchup, but I kind of agree with you. Offense is so awful. Is Tampa defense in play?
Yes, I think they are in play.
I think they're an interesting tournament play for sure. San Francisco at Seattle. This game's ugly.
Why do we think this game's ugly? Why?
Because Seattle has an offensive line that's awful, and
Agreed.
San Francisco plays at a high pace. I actually like the San Francisco defense here.
Me too. I actually really do. I think the Seattle defense is the mistake here. I think the 49ers defense is a perfectly fine punt option at 2,400. I don't think they're going to come in and win this game, but I certainly think they can get some turnovers. The entire Rams offense is basically questionable here. Russell's been dealing with an ankle, but he's going to play. Rawls is questionable. Baldwin is questionable. Lockett is questionable. It's kind of just a whole lot of, they're just trying to survive these first few weeks at this point. I think this game is going to get a bit ugly. I think it's going to get a bit sloppy. I don't mind the San Fran defense. I really have no interest in any Seattle offensive players at all.
Yeah, they allowed 40 points to Carolina and still scored 7 fantasy points last week.
Yeah, I really think that this defense has takeaway ability. And if Russell's not 100%, we saw him play a really sloppy game against Miami, who just got completely lit up in New England. This Seattle offense is not as good as people think. I think this team might not be as good as people think. There's always the one team that surprises that's way worse. I could see it being Seattle at this point.
Yeah, if Wilson was cheaper, I would take a shot on him. I really would.
I think that would just be. You should just PayPal me that money so you don't worry about this. Yeah, I can spend it on a lot better ways.
I'm not going to play him, but if he was cheaper, if Wilson was like 7,500, you wouldn't have him on any tournament teams.
I mean, he's 7,100 on DraftKings.
I meant on FanDuel. He's 8,700.
Oh, well, if he was like he's what?
He's 8,700 on FanDuel.
No, he's not. Russell Wilson?
Yes.
No, he's not.
Russell Wilson on FanDuel is 8,700.
Oh, FanDuel. Oh, FanDuel. Oh, I thought you said fantasy drafts, and I was like, what? The minimum's 10K. No,
we would have played him. We would have played him at 7,800 on draft.
That's what I was really confused. I was like, what are you talking about? I'm not. No, you would not play him at 8,700. If he was 7,500 on FanDuel, I still wouldn't play him. No, stop.
I'd probably take a shot.
Ugh, don't do. Well, at least he's not that pricey. You're not gonna lose that money. That's for sure.
You're right. I'm not. San Diego at Indy. We know Moncrief is out. We know Woodhead's out for the season. Andrew Luck gonna have a question mark next to his name every week.
Oh my goodness! Is this the spot where Melvin Gordon just breaks everyone's heart because Phillip Rivers throws for 450 and 4?
Like, if you're playing Melvin Gordon, you're playing him in cash, right? You're not playing him on tournament teams, are you?
Here's the problem: the Colts' running defense is so bad.
So bad.
It's just, has San Diego ever just dedicated themselves to the run in this kind of spot, like ever in their history as a franchise?
Like the thing, so here's the thing: if Dexter McCluster really vultures like Melvin Gordon, I think I'm just going to accept it. Like, whatever.
Like, he only got 14 carries in a game they were up like 21-0. And like only when they were up like 35-0 did he get carries and Woodhead was done. Like, I could see the disappointment game coming because the Indy pass defense is bad and Phillip Rivers can just pick them apart. We've seen Phillip Rivers on the road so many times in the past. This is a complete, I don't know, with a question mark. I'm absolutely going to have lots of exposure to this game, but I can't decide if I'm going to be on Gordon or if I'm going to play Travis Benjamin, Tyrell Williams, Antonio Gates, Phillip Rivers. I don't know.
No, so that's the reason I like Melvin Gordon. They're going to be up in this game. I'm in agreement with you. San Diego is going to be up in this game. They're going into a dome, which is even better for them.
Yeah, I feel like whatever decision I make on Melvin Gordon is going to end up being wrong. And that I hate these types of decisions where I feel like I need to take a stand one way or another, and no matter what I choose, it's going to be the wrong decision.
Can you text me Sunday morning and let me know which way you went?
I will gladly text you. I have a Periscope Sunday morning as well. You can find that on the Roto Grinders Twitter feed at Roto Grinders. You can check that out.
I'll
let you guys know.
Travis Benjamin still cheap enough that you could play him here?
Yeah, without Woodhead, I think he's a great play. That was a tough blow last week. I had all the Woodhead and no Benjamin, and double whammy.
Double whammy for sure. Looking at the Indy side of things, it's a T.Y. Hilton week. It really is. Play T.Y. Hilton.
This Phillip Dorsett nonsense, I think, is the trap of the week.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Like, T.Y. Hilton's gonna get like 10 to 15 targets in this game,
and Dwayne Allen's probably gonna get like 7.
Yes, I like Dwayne Allen a lot.
Yeah, especially as a guy who's going to roster Phillip Dorsett in his 16-team league. I can tell you now he's destined to let me down. So, like, fade Phillip Dorsett.
Like, what's his ceiling, really? Like, I know he had a good game against Detroit in week 1, but
I mean, his ceiling is realistically 6 receptions, 100 yards, and a touchdown, and you lose without him. It's there.
Yeah. I'll probably have a few shares, but I'm going to have so much T.Y. Hilton. That's the only reason I'm going to, like, hedge with a couple Dorsett teams.
Yeah, I definitely want to know who wins the number 3 wide receiver battle between Quan Bray and Chester Rogers. They are both the dead minimum. I will have exposure to them as well if I can figure out which one wins the battle.
See, my issue is I could see them going like in a 2 tight end set and Jack Doyle and Allen getting targets too.
Yeah, 3K though in a game with a 53 total. If I can figure out who the third wide receiver is going to be, I'm going to have exposure.
And they should be trailing.
Right. Well, I don't know if they should be trailing, but I think the game's going to require them to throw the football. I think this is a back and forth throwing the football game. So if I can figure out which guy's going to win the job, I definitely will play them at 3K.
Pittsburgh at Philadelphia. Are people going to sleep on Antonio Brown after a disappointing week?
I think so, but I'm not paying $9,600 on DraftKings. I just can't pay that price.
I can. Like, if you want to,
it's too much. You basically need 38. You need like 37 DK points for him to make value.
But do you know how bad the Philadelphia secondary is? Like every single one, Mills, Brooks, Carroll, all these guys.
Yeah, you really think that he's going to get you over like 36 DK points, like 25% of the time?
If it wasn't Antonio Brown, I'd probably say no, and if it wasn't Ben at quarterback, I'd probably say no. But I think that's realistic. Like we could pull up his game log from last year with Ben, and he would have that 25% of the time.
Yeah, I just am not willing to. If I can find out who the nickel, if I can figure out who the number 3 wide receivers of the Colts, if I can feel good about Pryor and I have the money to pay up, he's certainly in consideration. But if the wide receiver value does not open up the way I want it to, I can't see paying the price.
It's a good week to go mid-range wide receivers in your cash games.
Yes, I agree, and I think scrubs and stars in tournaments is going to be super contrarian.
Should you start your cash lineup on FanDuel and DraftKings with D'Angelo Williams? Like, is there a reason not to?
No, probably not.
Like, this is the last week before Bell comes back.
I will say this. The Philly run defense we just assume is still bad. We have no evidence of it, right? We know Langford's terrible, and we know that Duke Johnson and Isaiah Crowell aren't anything special. So, like, there's this 5% chance that the Philly run defense is actually good. But I think in cash games, you can definitely go ahead and lock them up.
Over under 25 touches for D'Angelo Williams.
Over.
Yeah. So last week before Bell comes back too, they're going to run Williams into the ground this week.
Yep, I agree.
Ben's pretty safe for cash games in my opinion too. I don't know if you want to pay up at quarterback this week.
Yeah, I don't think you want to pay up at quarterback in cash games.
If you're paying up at quarterback though.
If I'm paying up, I'm going to Cam.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Hey, Ben might be a good tournament play then. Just off of what we just said.
Don't mind him. Yeah, I think I have him ranked as a solid, like 5th or 6th at quarterback, so I don't mind that.
Are you going back to the well on Jesse James here?
No.
He's still min salary on FanDuel for what it's worth.
Why FanDuel just raise his freaking price? Don't do this to me.
No, I think he's an excellent fade.
Oh, I faded him in Thursday cash, and then I ended up by Sunday playing him in cash. And my fade was a better play than Jesse James, but oh well.
I got the Delaney Walker tight end last week.
I played Jacob Tamme in Thursday cash, which worked out really well.
Yeah, that would work out well. Looking at the Philadelphia side, we expect them to be down in this game, right? Like Pittsburgh's going to put up points. Philly should be trailing in this game.
Are we sure?
Even if they're not trailing, like they let Wentz do his thing last week.
I love Jordan Matthews in this spot. I think this is a really good bounce back spot for him. He still got 9 targets in a game they were just in front of the entire time because the Bears were awful, which my bad. My bad if you played Bears D. I'll cop that one. That was not one of my better picks of all time. But I love Jordan Matthews in this spot. Love.
I like Wentz. Talk me off of playing Wentz in tournaments this week. I see 20 points there. I really do.
Yeah, I don't hate it. Nah, I can't say I'm going to talk you off of it. I think I'm more likely to just play Bortles and Flacco, but don't mind it.
Like, if we're looking on Fantasy Draft, Wentz is 10-9.
Yeah, you can't find the extra, 1K to get the Flacco?
Well, I'm sure you could, but, what's Wentz's projected ownership? Really low, right?
Yeah, it's super, super low.
I think he's really interesting. And Nelson Agholor is another guy. I really expect them to be down in this game. I expect Philly to be down in this game. I'm going to actually probably have some game stacks here where I have Wentz with both the Philly receivers and maybe an Antonio Brown or D'Angelo Williams on the other side.
Don't even mind both of them if you think it's really going to go out there and get shoot out. I
was kind of thinking that as I was saying it, though. Jordan Matthews, Sean Davis, good matchup, great matchup. Jordan Matthews, I think, is a guy you can look at in cash games this week.
Man, you take my what I think are hot takes, and you just take them one step further. I don't know if I can go that far.
His 25 targets in the first 2 games. He's giving you a floor of 6 points just by his catches.
Oh,
telling you, I think Philly's going to trail in this game.
That's not exactly a hot take. I don't know if I really want to play 70. I don't know if I can quite pull that trigger.
All right, let's move on. We have the Jets and we have the Chiefs. Brandon Marshall's banged up. Matt Forte's banged up. Eric Decker's banged up. We don't know if Jamal Charles is going to play. A lot of question marks that you have to pay attention to in this game moving towards Sunday.
Yeah, the stupid weather. I think this game is a sneaky shootout game, kind of like Baltimore-Jacksonville. Like, all the games I think are sneaky shootouts have, like, rain in the forecast. It's like, come on. You can't just give me, like, a clean game one time. I really do like the Jets' spot here against the Kansas City defense. We've seen what the Chargers did. We've seen what the Jets have done first 2 weeks. Marshall, Decker, and even Quincy Enunwa, I think, are firmly in play. Don't mind Ryan Fitzpatrick as a tournament option as well.
You have to look at Forte, too. Just the amount of touches that he's getting in this offense sets up really well for him. He will break. But we play him until he breaks, right?
He's already got a sore knee. Like, he will break down.
He's a sore knee because he had, 30 carries?
Like, he's going to die, like, on the field, and they're going to have to cart him off. Like, there's just no way this workload can continue. I don't know. I think I'm just going to fade Forte and just kind of, like, let myself lose a couple weeks till he's, like, 50% and goes down with an injury, and then I can kind of just go from there.
If you had to choose Marshall or Decker, which one do you like more here?
Decker, PPR upside. Marshall on FanDuel.
Yeah, I think that's right. Like, you want Decker on the PPR sites. He has a good matchup against Gaines, too. And Marshall is more touchdown dependent. Even though I think Decker has, like, a touchdown in, 9 straight games or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something crazy. But, yeah, Decker's the guy that I like here. Is there anybody from Kansas City that you like?
Yes. It depends on what the situation with Jamal Charles is. If Charles is out, Spencer Ware I like. If Charles is in, the situation kind of muddles very quickly. Don't mind Jeremy Maclin. 22 targets over the first 2 weeks. Jets secondary, we see him get exposed. And this might be finally the spot I get to play Chris Conley. Number 2 wide receiver on this team. 11 targets in the first 2 weeks. It's a good matchup here against the Jets. Don't mind Chris Conley.
I don't know if you watched the game on Thursday night, but Marshall, after the game, was asked about Revis, and he said that he's the best corner in football. He's still there. He's still, like, trying to recover from offseason. So, like, take advantage of it. Like, Maclin is in a good spot. Maclin has seen 95% of the snaps. He's seen 37% of the targets for Kansas City in the first couple weeks. Like, Maclin is this is a good spot for him.
Yeah, completely agree.
That's kind of it, though, right? Like, maybe Kelsey in a tournament, but I'm not loving it.
I think we can move on.
All right, Chicago at Dallas. I'm guessing your running back was Elliott.
Yes, it is. Love me Ezekiel Elliott this week. I might have called him Monte Ball 2.0 last week, which, of course, was just a little bit of a hot take exaggeration. But we have the Dallas offensive line versus the Chicago defensive line, which is all, like, basically injured and not playing. So we got Dallas offensive line versus a backup line. And then we've got the Dallas defensive line against a beat-off offensive line. This is just a huge mismatch for the Bears. Ezekiel Elliott's going to get 25 to 30 touches in this game. 6,900, lowest price we've seen yet. I think the ownership level is going to be down. Love me Ezekiel Elliott as the Sunday night hammer, too. I get that nice benefit.
Can we continue to play Cole Beasley?
Yes. Is he still, like, free, isn't he?
I think he's like 3,100 on DraftKings. I'll probably have him in cash again.
He's 3,200. Yeah, that's 18 targets over the first 2 weeks. Now, he's had 2 very good matchups in the slot. Who's he draw this week? I haven't had a chance to look at the Pro Football Focus matchups.
He has Callahan. Callahan's decent.
Yeah, I don't know if I would play him in cash, but I think, like, we've got a bunch of, like, these cheap guys you can kind of rotate through and kind of let yourself make some contrarian lineup builds. I think that's a really interesting way to go in tournaments.
Pay up at running back, pay down at wide receiver might be the way to go this week.
Yeah, I definitely think it's contrarian. Or you can pay all the way to the top. There's some interesting names, Antonio Brown. Or if you're playing the Sunday Monday slate over on Fantasy Draft, you get some of the best wide receivers on the entire slate available to you.
Well, we're going to talk about that here in a second. Anything that you like from Chicago?
Dallas defense.
I have a little interest in Kevin White and Jeffrey.
No.
Yes.
Don't play Kevin White. He's so bad. Why? Why? Oh, why would you?
The reason that I like both of these guys is we've seen it with Hoyer so many times where he locks in on a receiver and we see like 15 targets in a game.
Good. Then let's play Eddie Royal.
You think it's really going to be Royal?
He's got 12 targets over the first 2 weeks, and at least you got the punt return touchdown upside as well.
I guess. I really think I'm going to end up on Jeffrey because we see it with Hopkins.
Please just don't play Kevin White. He's such a bust. He's so bad.
We've seen it with Hopkins and we've seen it with Josh Gordon. Like Hoyer likes to lock in on a receiver.
Like Kevin White's might not be the number 2 wide receiver this week. Like Eddie Royal was stealing snaps in 2 wide receiver sets this week. Like they're really down on Kevin White.
We didn't mention just a random thought that I had here. When we were talking Cleveland, what's your thoughts on Barnidge, rookie quarterback, checking down to a tight end?
I think he's just more likely going to check down the Pryor over the middle of the field for a nice 5-yard gain. 1.5 DK points.
All right, let's talk about the Monday night game. DraftKings and FanDuel took this game out. Fantasy Draft did not. So a lot of options. We have the Falcons at the Saints. Man.
Is there anybody who's not in play? I'm really dead serious. Is there a player that is, let's say like even on like the 1 through 3 wide receiver, starting tight end, starting running back or quarterback that's not in play for you?
Fleener's not in play for me anymore. I've given up.
Atlanta's not even that good against the tight end. They don't even mind that.
I gave up on Fleener.
The price is so tempting now.
I know, but I would rather just play Tammy.
Yeah,
I never thought I'd say that.
I really don't. 12 targets, though, over 2 weeks. I think that you have to give Fleener one more shot. Very limited exposure.
I probably will.
Shot.
I probably will.
I know you will. And you'll be really mad at me Monday night, but that's fine. Hopefully we'll be winning all the money anyways, and you won't be too mad.
Like Sanu, like all these guys. Like,
I really asked, like, is there a single wide receiver in the 3 deep you would not play?
No, I think Sanu's sneaky. I really do. He's 10-6 on draft. If you're playing on draft, how much exposure to Julio Jones? He's so expensive.
50%?
So expensive, but like, what's like the ceiling here is a 2 touchdown, 200-yard game, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and
after Odell Beckham did nothing, I think everyone's gonna be like all off too.
Back in New Orleans though.
And he's questionable to boot, which is, I love that nice Q tag next to Julio. It just lowers his ownership so much because everyone just assumes he's actually really hurt.
Do you want any of the running backs here?
I don't mind Tevin Coleman as a GPP sneaky option. He's really getting 50% of the work at this point. He's still 4,500. He's got 14 touches and 13 touches the first 2 weeks, 4,500 in a dome. I mean, going to get some pass catching targets. I think he's in play.
I like Michael Thomas as a tournament play. 8,300 on draft.
I literally don't think there's a. You can make a set. You can say like there's one bad play.
All right. Well, that's
even Justin Hardy, like, I mean, like he's got. I mean, it's not like getting a ton of looks, but he's like the number 3 wide receiver, and he's the minimum price.
All right. Well, that's going to do it here for the game-by-game breakdown. Last week we talked about a quarterback, a running back, and a wide receiver, kind of like our home run derby. We went 0 for 6. So we have some work to do. So I'll let you lead off. Quarterback, it's 3 touchdowns. Wide receiver and running backs is 100 yards for the bonuses on DraftKings. So I'll let you lead off. You can take any position you want.
Julio Jones.
It's not on the main slate.
You know what? We need to step up our game here and get the job done. Fantasy Draft's our sponsor. It's on their main slate. I'm using Julio Jones.
All right, I'll give you Julio. That's super chalky. Fit your style of play.
He's not going to be as chalky. He's not going to be that chalky. He's really not.
Let's see. I'm gonna go running back over 100 yards, and I'm gonna go with Williams.
Yeah, that's totally fine. Totally understandable. I'm going to go Ezekiel Elliott, running back over 100 yards.
All right. I'm sticking to my hot take. I'm going Randall Cobb over 100 yards this week.
Oh, man, I really, really want it. The 3 touchdowns, man, there's so many guys I kind of like here in this
It
spot.
could be rushing, too. We'll give that, too.
No. You're trying to angle your way into Mariota pick. I'm not going to let you do that. I noticed that you're changing the rules just because you thought about who you're going to take. No, you don't get to do that.
I know who I'm going to take already. It wasn't Mariota.
Oh, we'll see. I'm very, very fishy that he suddenly wants to include rushing touchdowns. Oh, it could be Cam Newton too. That could be the other option. I'm really going to contrarian here. Give me Phillip Rivers. I was
going to take.
I really like Phillip Rivers in this spot. I really, really do.
I think everybody's going to play luck, and I
think Melvin Gordon disappoints, and Phillip Rivers just – remember that game against Green Bay last year where he threw for like 500 something? I don't even think that's out of play in this game. I really don't.
I think Rivers is really solid in cash games on FanDuel too at 8K.
I might have him on every cash game. His floor is so high for a quarterback at his price point.
3 passing touchdowns. The guy has so many options. I'm going to go Derek Carr.
I like that. That's contrarian. I like how you didn't just go chalk with me and take Cam. I really do like that contrarian option. I think we're going to hit at least 1 or 2 of these this week.
All right. Before we get out of here, we always with the football podcast, it's so much different. We get to send out a tweet before the podcast and answer some questions here. So we're going to answer some questions real quick, kind of rapid fire style. Try to get all these questions in 5 minutes. We will start with Rick Hobson 7. Are Travis Benjamin and Melvin Gordon traps and seemingly a solid matchup?
Yes.
Yes and no, right? Like, there's still good matchups.
Easily be the trap. Melvin Gordon could go rush for 30 yards with 150 go get 30 carries, 150 and 3 touchdowns. It's possible. I really just don't, my hands are basically throwing up in this game. I don't know what I'm doing yet. I really don't. I just know I want exposure to it, and I have no feel for this game at all.
Well, this is a really good question by Eric Wild 8. Seems like quarterback ownership may be spread out this week. Your top 3 quarterbacks and who you'd stack them with?
Phillip Rivers, Tyrell Williams, Blake Bortles, Julius Thomas, and Joe Flacco with Mike Wallace, assuming the weather in Jacksonville is not raining.
Okay. I'm going to go Rivers, Benjamin.
You really got to go with Benjamin, though. He's going to be so highly owned.
Yeah, but I don't think Rivers is going to be highly owned.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to go – I'm not going to go to the Atlanta-New Orleans game. I'm going to go Rodgers Cobb. Love that matchup for Rodgers. And I could easily go Mariota, but I feel like I'd tilt you really hard if I said Mariota.
You really think Mariota's a top 5 option on this slate? You really think that?
Price per dollar on DraftKings, I really like him.
You like him over Derek Carr at $7K?
For $1,100.
You like him over Phillip Rivers at 67? You like him over Blake Bortles at 65? You really like him over Joe Flacco at 61? I don't think so.
I like him over Flacco.
Oh, man. I just think there's so many mid-tier options. I don't think you have to get to Mariota this week.
The last one is Winston Matthews. I really think they're a top 3 tournament stack this week.
Man, I really thought you were going to go Winston. I started hearing the W, and I thought you were going to go Winston Evans on me. But Wentz Matthews, I can definitely get on board with. There's so many quarterback options that have so much upside, and Mariota just doesn't have it. Like, I'm really going to spend my whole week trying to get you off Mariota. I think it's a big mistake.
Toast Jones asked, thoughts on a mini Tennessee stack? I kind of think that you guys got our thoughts on Tennessee. We don't really need to even say anything. So let's move on. Walter Dubb, would you consider a Dak Dez Beasley stack or a Dak Dez Witten stack?
If I'm completely wrong on Ezekiel Elliott, yeah, but I really think this is a Zeke coming out party.
Yeah, I can't stack those guys. There's too much upside on other games.
Yeah, just play Beasley as a one-off.
Is PETA cash game playable on FanDuel? Patio Joe Ref asked.
What's the price on FanDuel? I can't say.
$5K. Depending on weather, right? Like if good weather, 5K.
Yeah. That's definitely a weather dependent thing.
But at 5K, really cheap. Give me a wide receiver and running back under 5,000.
Okay.
And I'm guessing it's DraftKings because it says PPR.
Will Fuller. I don't care that he's not on the main slate. I'm saying him anyways. And Theoretic.
Okay, I'm going to go Sharp. And I'm going to go Reddit. Me and you are on the same page there.
Yeah. I had a feeling we would be.
Let's move on here. How do you feel about Tavon Austin this week? 21 targets in 2 weeks, and he's only 5,900 on FanDuel.
Nope.
I'm with you. Will Dorsett be shadowed by Verrett?
How much T.Y. Hilton can we get if that's the case?
No, like T.Y. Hilton, I think it's like 66% of his snaps in the slot, and Verrett's not going to go in the slot.
Oh, my. I hadn't even thought about that. So, Philip Dorsett really is the ultimate trap, and I really need to figure out who that third wide receiver is going to be.
I don't think Verrett's going to shadow anybody. I think they're just going to play sides.
I will say this, though. If you think that they're going to want to get Hilton into the slot, that means they need to have a third wideout. So I definitely, if you think that's true, then they really aren't going to play as much two tight end as you think.
They're going to get Hilton in the slot, right? They don't want Verrett on.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's why I think that number 3 wide receiver for the Colts is really sneaky valuable. It's because if they're going to try to get Hilton in that slot, they need to have someone outside of him.
Thoughts on a Bortles A-Rob stack? We both like it. Would you guys approach playing 1 p.m. and 4 p.m. slates only any different than the main slate?
I use the same strategies. I love the 1 p.m. only slate, but I'm slightly biased at the moment. No, it's no different. You're just trying to find the most optimal teams, and you're trying to find the right contrarian hedge plays. I really love playing those extra slates in cash because what it does is it makes guys I really like that maybe aren't like the optimal cash plays on the main slate, but they will be on the 1 p.m. slate or the 4 p.m. slate. It gives me a cash exposure to those guys. I've actually really started liking playing all the cash game slates.
All right, next question comes from D Miller 10NC. Destiny Miller, one of the mods here at RotoGrinders. Rank these running backs.
I saw this question. This is a great question.
Yeah, Theo, Sims, McKinnon, Ajayi. And are you on board with Tannehill and Cash? No.
No on Tannehill. Riddick, Ajayi. Who are the other two? McKinnon and who?
Sims.
McKinnon, Sims. No, Sims, McKinnon. But there's a massive drop off after Ajayi.
Don't play Sims and McKinnon.
Yeah, let's play Ajayi.
Yeah, play. I'm not a big Ajayi fan, and I think that's the right play.
Yeah.
Are the Bills the new Saints?
No. Letdown Central this week.
Thoughts on RBBC sack, Freeman, Coleman, or Murphy, Henry?
I won't do it, but I will play Tevin Coleman in tournaments.
You're just limiting your upside at that point.
Yep, absolutely. Don't do that.
2 more questions. Yeldon or Reddick in a season long?
I think it's Theo Riddick. I really do. Is that bad?
No, I'm all for that.
Oh, I hate TJ Yeldon too. It really helps it was TJ Yeldon and not someone else around that range.
Any worries about the Cardinals laying a dud with them traveling to the East Coast for a 1 p.m. game? Ask the real Joshua 5.
Normally a spot I'd be worried about, but I just think Denver is kind of just really reeling. I think that team is kind of done for the season at this point.
All right. Well, if you're playing baseball today, make sure you guys head on over and check out the MLB Grind Down, that Notorious Rights. One of the best pieces here on RotoGrinders that's still free, and you just so much great information there. There'll be RotoGrinders shows talking baseball. So if you missed your morning grind baseball talk, it'll be back tomorrow. And I think that you'll be back, right?
Yeah, we gotta definitely putting up a better result here. That's for sure.
Eric Crane, Cheese is Good at 4:30. Dean and Pepsi 7 at 5:30. Choke on Funny at 6:30, taking you home. So plenty of MLB stuff over there on the Grinders Live page. Good luck in your contest this week in football. If you guys have any questions, always feel free to reach out to us at Twitter. It's the Siege DFS, DVTPFL. Good luck, and we'll see you next week.